What he's saying is, I am insecure about these people. And so if you react excited, nervous, tense, fearful to an insecure growl, you are going to make him.
The world of dog whispering is in a state of shock today as a result of the release of startling video footage showing renowned dog trainer Cesar Milan unable to contain his emotions during a live television interview. When Milan unexpectedly burst into tears and announced his departure from his training empire, what began as a routine interview on a morning show soon morphed into one of the most jaw-dropping moments there has ever been in the history of television. Milan is heard murmuring through sobs, "I am unable to continue doing this any longer." As he spoke, his voice broke with passion. "There are some things that the general public is unaware of, things that I have concealed for many years." Then came the bombshell that everyone is talking about. As he removed his microphone, Milan murmured something that obviously sounded like they found the records before the audio channel was turned off. As their celebrity guest left the set, the hosts of the morning program seemed obviously surprised and struggled to find the appropriate words to express their feelings. While the producers were furiously signaling from off-camera, the lead anchor stuttered, "We are going to take a quick break." Her face was frozen in disbelief as she made her announcement. After the glossy veneer of morning television was cracked, viewers saw in real time as the raw panic that was hiding beneath the surface was revealed. Many others are sharing their own personal experiences with Milan, underlining the deep impact he has had on countless lives, both human and canine. This is happening at a time when admirers are struggling to comprehend what could have caused the normally composed dog whisperer to reach such an emotional breaking point. Maria Gonzalez is seated in the living room of her East Los Angeles home, which is bathed in sunlight. She is surrounded by photographs of her Rottweiler Rex. When she thinks back to the fateful day in 2016, when she first met Cesar Milan, her eyes well up with tears of satisfaction. She says that after returning from Afghanistan, "My son Miguel was diagnosed with severe post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and she does so while lovingly touching a photograph of a young Marine in uniform. Unfortunately, we were unable to purchase a service dog, despite the VA's recommendation. After that, Miguel rescued Rex from a shelter, where he was a Rottweiler who was 2 years old and had been abandoned. He was on the verge of being put down for euthanasia. Following this, Rex began displaying violent behaviors that challenged his place in their home. This was a difficult path for him to go through because he was dealing with his own personal trauma from the past. Animal control was involved after Rex became angry with a neighbor, and the dog was in danger of being put down because of the situation. Maria remembers that Miguel was in utter disbelief. They had accomplished such a bonding. "My kid could not face the idea of losing Rex. It was intolerable for him." Maria was able to connect with Cesar Milan through a veteran support group, and despite his highly crowded schedule, he consented to meet with them. Maria recalls with a pleased smile that he did not come with cameras or an entourage, but rather without either. "It was just him, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, sitting on our floor for hours, watching how Rex and Miguel interacted with each other. His modesty and genuine concern struck us right away. More than anything else, Maria was taken aback by the fact that Milan initially collaborated directly with Rex. His first day consisted solely of conversing with Miguel, gaining a grasp of his traumatic experiences, his routine, and his feelings. He said that Rex was exhibiting identical levels of hypervigilance and anxiety to Miguel, and that the dog was, in essence, suffering from secondary post-traumatic stress disorder. A revelation that altered everything was brought about by it. A comprehensive rehabilitation program was gradually implemented by Milan over the course of approximately 2 weeks, during which time he returned every day. He instructed Miguel to recognize when his own anxiety was rising to a higher level and how it affected Rex during those times. He devised activities in which the two of them might achieve success together, boosting their self-assurance. First and foremost, he demonstrated to Miguel how to provide Rex with the kind of steady leadership that he required in order to feel safe. Despite the fact that the change did not occur instantly, it was significant. Maria emphasizes that Cesar exhibited an incredible amount of patience. After Cesar returned to his usual schedule, he continued the work with a local trainer whom he had personally supervised. He linked us with this trainer. After a period of 6 months, Rex had transitioned into an entirely different dog, calm, self-assured, and receptive to feedback. After a year had passed, Rex was able to successfully complete the certification process to become Miguel's official service dog. He was trained to identify the symptoms of panic attacks and nightmares. Maria notes with pride that Rex is currently assisting scores of veterans. During the course of the therapy program, Miguel accompanies him to the Veterans Affairs Hospital on a weekly basis. After being threatened with euthanasia in the past, the dog now assists other soldiers in recovering from the effects of trauma. A softer tone may be heard in Maria's voice as she describes the little touches that made Milan such a valued member of their family. Years after he had worked with Miguel and Rex, he continued to call them to see how they were doing. It was a birthday card that he sent to Rex. Following the fact that Miguel was unable to buy the specialized training collar that Cesar suggested, a collar was sent to him the following day in the mail, along with a handwritten message that stated, "I believe in you both." This is the Cesar Milan that people do not see on television. The individual who possesses a tremendous heart and is able to recognize possibilities where others perceive issues. Robert Thompson, the principal of an elementary school in rural Georgia, shines with pride as he demonstrates the one-of-a-kind program that his school offers. It is a humane education center that has not only transformed the school, but also the entire town. Our neighborhood had a tumultuous relationship with dogs prior to Cesar's arrival into our lives that changed everything. Thompson says as we make our way around the school's courtyard, which is where the children and the therapy dogs that have been carefully picked engage during the playtime period. A problem that existed in the shadows was dog fighting. Strays were found in every corner of the city, and each year there were multiple serious dog attacks. When a third-grade student from the school was hurt by a dog that was not restrained in 2018, the community was separated and searching for ways to resolve the situation. As Thompson recounts, I was able to recall seeing Cesar's presentations and how he consistently emphasized that issues pertaining to dogs are actually issues pertaining to humans. When I submitted an email to his foundation, I did so on a whim, and I never anticipated that it would result in anything. 3 days later, Milan himself called, which came as a complete surprise to Thompson. It was not about the dogs that he asked the first question. Our community, our children, and our resources were all at the center of this. Most of the time, he was the one who listened. Following that, he made a statement that I will never forget. My goal is not only to find a solution to this issue. One of my goals is to assist you in constructing something lovely out of it. When Milan came, he brought with him a group that consisted of trainers, educators, and 2 pit bulls who had been exquisitely taught to demonstrate the potential of the breed that is frequently misunderstood. According to Thompson, he could have simply delivered a lightning-fast session and then left. Instead, he immersed himself in our neighborhood for close to a month, staying in a motel in the area, dining at our restaurants, and getting to know our families. The Dog Whisperer launched a multifaceted program that includes free training clinics for local dog owners, daily instructional classes at the school about safe canine contact and canine behavior, and a mentorship program for young people who are interested in jobs related to animal welfare. Thompson argues that he possessed an extraordinary capacity to meet people where they were at any given moment. He never made any judgments or criticisms. He, on the other hand, listened, gained an understanding of the local culture, and discovered methods to introduce new ideas that honored the values of our community while simultaneously making life better for both people and dogs. It was when Milan brought together children who were afraid of dogs with rescues that were gentle and had been rehabilitated that the most powerful moment occurred. For Thompson, the metamorphosis was a wonderful experience, and his voice was heavy with emotion when he recalled it. The entire community's perspective was altered as a result of the experience of witnessing these fearful children eventually learn to trust these creatures and witnessing the moment when fear transforms into curiosity and then back into joy. Through collaboration with local officials, Milan was able to build practical programs for responsible ownership, support campaigns for spay-neuter, and create a reading program in which children who are having difficulty reading are given the opportunity to practice reading aloud to shelter dogs who are waiting to be adopted. This program improved both literacy rates and adoption outcomes. With great pride, Thompson reveals that our community has seen a transformation after 4 years. There has been a significant reduction in the number of incidents involving dog bites, the adoption rate has increased, the euthanasia rate has fallen, and our youngsters have a completely new perspective of the interaction between humans and dogs. Milan's name is currently on the education center that is located behind the school, despite the fact that he respectfully objected to the honor. Students are educated on topics such as responsible pet ownership, animal behavior, and jobs in the field of animal welfare within the classroom. The walls are covered with photographs as well as messages from families whose lives have been altered as a result of adoptions that have been successful. According to Thompson, Cesar makes a yearly visit through which he interacts with the pupils and observes the development of the program. Every time, he provides us with fresh concepts and connects us with other resources and specialists. He has become an integral part of the fabric of our community. Thompson's eyes begin to well up with tears as he observes a 6th grade student instructing a rescue dog to adhere to several fundamental instructions. The child's expression glowed with an expression of triumph. Cesar provided us with a great deal more than just dog training. He demonstrated to us how the healing of the link between humans and animals can transform entire communities. When others just saw issues, he recognized possibilities in the situation. Additionally, he provided us with the resources necessary to bring about a transformation that is long-lasting. These anecdotes of his great effect provide a deeper context to a man whose public character only catches a portion of his genuine legacy. As the news of Milan's emotional television breakdown continues to spread, these stories provide a deeper example of his profound impact. Regardless of the personal challenges that led to his abrupt resignation today, the people that he has touched will continue to be eternally altered as a result of his extraordinary abilities and compassionate nature. However, several people who have worked behind the scenes with Milan tell a different story, suggesting that the dispute may have been caused by misunderstandings rather than willful misrepresentation. According to Michael Rodriguez, who spent 5 years working as a trainer at Milan's Dog Psychology Center, the majority of people are unaware of the extent to which Cesar changed his methods to suit the needs of various dogs. His tactics were portrayed in a straightforward manner on the television show, yet in reality, he was continuously modifying his approach in accordance with the temperament and history of each individual animal. A significant number of comments originate from individuals who have only witnessed the sanitized television version, rather than his genuine daily work with difficult cases. Some people believe that Milan's true dedication to the welfare of animals can be seen by the substantial work he has done with rescue organizations and shelters throughout his childhood. According to Elena Vasquez, director of a rescue organization in Los Angeles that specializes in the placement of dogs who are difficult to find, Cesar frequently took on cases that other trainers refused to take on. The majority of the time, he spent his own time and money to rehabilitate dogs that would have otherwise been put down for euthanasia. Although there may be some disagreement among experts over certain methods, the fact of the matter is that he was able to save thousands of dogs who would have otherwise been put down. When recent business actions are taken into consideration, the financial maneuvering appears even more dubious. It was revealed by business analyst Jonathan Reynolds that Milan's company abruptly severed contracts with several long-term partners in the previous month. To get out of these agreements early, they paid significant fines, which were actions that made no sense from a financial standpoint at the time. However, it now appears that these decisions were part of a bigger effort to fast extricate the brand from commitments. Another concerning pattern is revealed by the filings of corporations. Maria Chen, a specialist in corporate governance, observes that 3 of Milan's top executives quit within a 2-week period in February. Each of these executives received extraordinarily lucrative severance payments that contained broad, non-disclosure agreements. These shifts between executive positions were not typical. These were departures that were carefully negotiated and included significant legal protections embedded within them. Fans are trying to understand what might have caused such an intense response from the dog behaviorist who is generally composed, and the timing raises a lot of concerns about that. Those who have a personal relationship with Milan, on the other hand, have never had any doubts about his real compassion and his commitment to the care of animals. Victoria Summers, a celebrity dog trainer, has known Milan for more than a decade, and she tells a story that sheds light on his personality beyond the television appearance. As she says, Cesar took a complete vacation from his hectic schedule in 2019 to assist in the aftermath of a horrific wildfire that occurred in California. This is something that very few people are aware of. The rescue and rehabilitation of hundreds of animals that had been displaced as a result of the flames was being directly coordinated by him. By delaying lucrative appearances in order to concentrate on the crisis, Milan was able to adapt a portion of his dog psychotherapy center into an emergency shelter, as Summers explains. Over the course of several weeks, he slept on a cot in his office while working around the clock to assist animals that had been traumatized and owners who were desperately attempting to find their pets. He did all in his power to reconnect families with their cherished animals, including pulling every rope, calling in every favor, and using his own resources. The hands-on approach that Milan took was the aspect that Summers found most notable. In no way was he guiding from a distance. When he was searching for animals that had become stuck, he was physically entering hazardous places while while he was in the trenches, coated in ash and soot. One evening, he sat with a severely burned shepherd mix for a considerable amount of time, simply conversing with her in a low voice and keeping her company during a time when the veterinarians were uncertain about her ability to survive the night. Not only did she make it through the fire alive, but she was also eventually reunited with her family, who had lost everything else the fire had destroyed. The response to the accident revealed a different side of Milan that very few people had seen before. When Summers thinks back on it, he remembers that he developed a unique program for youngsters who had lost pets in the fire. It was clear to him that in the midst of all the mayhem and tragedy, these children were grieving pals whom they considered to be part of their own family. Within the context of his therapeutic sessions, children were able to work through their sadness while also learning how to deal with fresh rescue animals. There was a significant amount of healing that took place within those groups. Summers responds with a shake of her head in response to the ongoing conjecture of Milan's television meltdown. The man's heart is something I am familiar with, but I am not aware of what is going on in his personal or professional life at the moment. I am aware of a Cesar who has dedicated his entire life to fostering superior relationships between people and their canine companions. No matter what difficulties he is experiencing, he is deserving of grace. Jennifer Walsh, an attorney who specializes in animal rights litigation, argues that his training centers in other nations operate under different standards regarding animal welfare. In the event that there are claims of training practices that are improper, the legal repercussions could be drastically different from one country to the next. It is possible that something that is merely contentious in one country could be considered unlawful in different countries. Due to the fact that it is multinational, the legal situation is quite complicated. A rapid spread of the impact on the company is occurring. According to Thomas Reed, an expert who specializes in consumer products, retailers are stuck in a precarious situation. Although they are not openly removing things from shelves, we are witnessing what is known as soft distancing. This involves shifting merchandise to less visible locations, reducing order volumes, and quietly making contingency plans to replace the product line in the event that it is required. To put it another way, it is the retail equivalent of approaching someone who might explode slowly and backing away. The response from pet product vendors that had previously competed for Milan's endorsement is even more illuminating than the previous response. According to a licensing agent who is familiar with these discussions, a number of businesses that were engaged in dynamic negotiations for licensing transactions have suddenly stopped communicating with one another. Contracts that were on the verge of being finalized have been put on hold indefinitely, and marketing strategies that featured Milan have been quietly shelved. Across the board, the industry is collectively holding its breath. In consequence, the community of dog trainers has been divided along a number of lines. According to Marcus Harrison, a well-known trainer who specializes in positive reinforcement, a significant number of us have been anticipating this moment of reckoning. Given Milan's famous prominence, it was difficult to criticize the method that he popularized, despite the fact that many contemporary trainers consider the tactics that Milan popularized to be either obsolete or potentially detrimental. Milan has been the most conspicuous example of approaches that many contemporary behaviorists regard to be problematic. This is because there is a generational difference in the field of dog training. Alexandra Reynolds, who had her rescued German Shepherd accompany her to a private training session in 2022, has provided a particularly unsettling account of her experience. The techniques that were utilized throughout the private session were completely different from those that I had observed on television. Following my expression of worry, I was informed that cameras alter the approach and that genuine rehabilitation necessitates the utilization of more intensive procedures. Due to the fact that I left after 20 minutes, my dog was traumatized for several weeks after that. After I attempted to discuss my experience on the internet, I was sent a letter requesting that I stop doing so within 48 hours. Despite the possible legal repercussions, a number of former customers have started coming out. According to a former employee of the facility, there was an incident that occurred in 2021 with a high-profile celebrity customer. Due to non-disclosure agreements, I am unable to identify the client's identity. However, their dog was hurt during a display of dominance techniques. Attempts were made to conceal the entire episode. A substantial compensation was made to the celebrity, medical records were manipulated to suggest that the celebrity had a pre-existing condition, and everyone present was required to sign strict non-disclosure agreements with severe penalties. On the other hand, there are trainers who counsel against making snap decisions. Rebecca Moore, a professional trainer, contends that regardless of what is going on with Cesar on a personal level, we ought to keep the individual in the background when discussing more general topics related to training methodology. However, those nuanced conversations should not be reduced to scandal or personality. There are genuine disputes about alternative approaches to animal behavior, and those debates should not be reduced to personality. It is not sensationalism that the training community needs, rather, more thoughtful evaluation. As the problem surrounding Milan's brand continues to escalate, this measured answer has been completely overshadowed by it. When digital forensics experts examined the minimal film that was available, they found something that viewers had missed but were unaware of. Milan came to the studio by himself, without any of his entourage, and he was carrying documents in the inside pocket of his jacket, which he felt multiple times throughout the interview conversation. When the host started talking about his next initiatives, his hand shifted to this pocket instead of his other pocket. Following that, the emotional breakdown started. According to Robert Torres, a former behavioral analyst for the FBI, this pattern of behavior, which involves continually touching or examining a concealed document, is consistent with someone carrying what they perceive to be high-stakes evidence. This is a self-soothing gesture, but it is also a behavior that serves as verification. The contents of that pocket, whatever they were, represented something significant to him in terms of his emotional condition. The mental toll appears to have been steadily increasing over the course of several months. One of the witnesses claims that there was an event that occurred during a private training session with a high-profile client in which Cesar suddenly stopped in the middle of the presentation and looked into space for about 1,000,000 seconds. His demeanor had completely shifted by the time he began his work. It appeared as though he was a completely different person, uncertain, hesitant, and nearly questioning his own ways of operation. Although it was understandable that the customer was perplexed, the staff promptly intervened and took them to a different place as Cesar was taken away in a completely discreet manner. According to the reports, this incident took place after Milan received a phone call shortly before the session started as scheduled. Even though he took the conversation in private, individuals who were in the vicinity were able to hear him asking, "How did you find this?" multiple times. In addition, that is not conceivable, says a member of the staff who was present on that particular day. The appearance of his face was pale when he emerged. In the course of the training presentation, his behavior got increasingly erratic at that point. And further insider will recount a different incident that occurred in December. At that moment, Cesar was in the process of evaluating a video from an upcoming show when he abruptly asked that an entire part be removed. Suddenly, he was adamant that it could not be broadcast, despite the fact that it incorporated a specific training approach that he had used numerous times in the past. After being questioned by the producer, he only stated that we are no longer able to defend our decision. There was complete silence in the room. Once again, nobody understood what he meant by that. What had been different? It has been confirmed by a number of sources that Milan started reaching out to old critics and competitors in the dog training industry around the same time. These were individuals whom he had previously disregarded or even openly criticized. A veterinary behaviorist named Dr. Karen Wilkins, who had written papers that criticized his methods, recounts that he approached me out of the blue in the month of January. He asserted that he desired to initiate a conversation regarding the development of new methods to canine behavior. However, what struck me was that he appeared to be almost seeking permission or absolution, despite the fact that the talk was becoming increasingly tense. Repeatedly, he inquired as to whether particular training methods may result in long-term damage and whether such damage could be concealed for a considerable amount of time. It was disturbing to see. It was not just this one instance that happened. The month of February saw an increase in the unpredictability of his public appearances. It is mentioned that there was an event coordinator who was involved in a number of Milan's speaking appearances. At the very last minute, he would make a request for modifications to be made to presentations, specifically requesting that particular content regarding training procedures be removed and replaced with more general motivational material. On the other hand, he started dodging technical queries about his methodology during question and answer sessions, which was something he never did before. What takes place with Milan's impending book is something that continues to raise a great deal of suspicion. A source who is familiar with the publishing process has revealed that the book went through significant alterations just a few weeks before it was put out for publication. At the very last minute, entire chapters were chopped out of the manuscript, which is an extremely unusual occurrence at that late stage of the process without causing a delay in publishing. A significant portion of the passages that were omitted concentrated on his own training regimens and the scientific evidence that he asserted supported them. According to the reports, Milan was the one who gave the order to make changes to the document. After a bizarre encounter with an anonymous academic visitor, Milan personally followed up on the situation. An unexpected visit from this professor professor-like individual was made to the compound in January, according to a member of the home staff. At first, security attempted to refuse him entry. However, as soon as Cesar learned who it was, he promptly made the necessary adjustments to his schedule. During the hours that they were there, the door to his private office was kept locked. When the guest eventually left, Cesar appeared to be in a state of shock. The following morning, he proceeded to make that critical phone call to his publisher. The fact that the omitted chapters featured what Milan had claimed as scientific proof of his methodology is one of the things that makes this occurrence particularly noteworthy. This information comes from those who are inside the publishing industry. It is explained by someone who is familiar with the original text that he had been marketing these chapters to his staff as the ultimate proof that his approaches were scientifically sound. Specifically, he asserted that his strategy was supported by studies. Then, all of a sudden, those very chapters, which he had been the most pleased with, also happened to be the ones that he asked to be erased. As heartfelt condolences continue to stream in from all over the world, it is abundantly obvious that regardless of the circumstances that led to the tragic event that occurred today, Cesar Milan's legacy of compassion, second chances, and healing will live on through the countless people and animals whose lives he has touched. It is impossible to undo the influence of it. Are you able to share a tale of how Cesar Milan altered the course of your life or the life of your dog? Please share your thoughts and sentiments in the comments section, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel, as we will be providing you with ongoing coverage of this unfolding story, as well as the outpouring of support from fans all across the world.